So hello, and I hope you're all well and have had a lovely Easter, and isn't it magnificent and beautiful and wonderful and sunny out there? 21 degrees here tomorrow. Hey, that's just totally bonkers. But also very, very nice. So today, the question is around the golden child versus the scapegoat, because I hear an awful lot of parents saying, if only just this one child, whatever their name is, you know, they are always the ones that kind of wind everybody up or causes chaos. Our lives would just be so perfect and harmonious if that one child didn't always start arguments and provoke and pick fights and that kind of disrupt the peace. So that's what I thought we would talk about, because I had a question around that. And before we dive into that, I just wanted to say to you that I'm sorry, I keep looking at the wrong camera, I've just realised. So I'll have to try and look at the right camera. So, but before we dive into that, I just wanted to say that I have a really special offer on at the moment on Parent Like a Leader Race the Future, my kind of signature course, and the reason for that offer is that I am having a bit of a rebrand on my website, and I will have to re-record the videos, and I am not, you know, it will be the same content, but I have to kind of redo the branding, and that is taking longer than expected. So I just wanted to see if we could get it off the ground now, because it's a really useful course, and you can check it out on my website, ingamadsen.com/parent like a leader, with those little dashes in between, parent like a leader. So go and check that out, because it is at a special offer right now. And you will still get the one-to-one live session with me in a group, and you will have access for 6 months. And go and check that out when we have looked at the golden child versus the scapegoat. Actually, we're going to look more at the scapegoat than the golden child. So I guess what we need to look at is a way of stopping this one child escalating and ruining your peace all the time. And so I think the first thing as parents we need to do, and not just in this situation, it's a very useful question. You know, this is where you need to get your Sherlock Holmes hat out and your props, and you need to be curious. You need to sort of ask yourself, what does that child get from their behaviour? How does it serve them? And I want you to be curious and ponder that question for a while. So answers might not come to you right now. You might think, well, absolutely, all they get is told off and shouted at. So sit with that question for a day or so. And the answers that pop into your mind might be that actually they get a lot of attention. Negative for sure, but attention nevertheless. Maybe, I've certainly seen this with when there's a lot of children and one is sort of lower down the pecking order, they kind of get to feel strong and powerful in that moment of disrupting the rest of the family. They might also get a cuddle and connection afterwards when it's all kind of ended in a huge, massive meltdown. There might, be a repairing thing that happens. So be curious about what is that child actually getting from this. Because when you know what they are getting from it, you need to then try and identify what need are they trying to meet for themselves with that behaviour. So in the suggestions I gave, obviously there was a need for attention, there was a need for a level of control, there was a need to perhaps feel safe, maybe a need to have social status within the group. So I can see there's somebody live, but I can't see who it is. But put in a comment and wave at me, and pray that my phone doesn't run out of juice. Oh no, it won't run out of juice. I looked at the wrong thing. So all those needs, you know, all those needs. There's an institute called Human Givens, and I really like the way they look at human behaviour. When a person is getting their innate physical and emotional needs met in a balanced way, they will be mentally healthy. And so they have identified these fundamental givens of human nature, 9 emotional needs, fundamental emotional needs that we as humans have to have adequately met to enable us to thrive, and that we are kind of neurobiologically wired to always try to get those needs met. So the first one is kind of blindingly obvious. We need security. We need a roof over our heads. We need a safe territory and a safe environment. We need attention. We need to give and to receive attention. That's kind of, you know, nutrition for us humans. But we also need autonomy and control and agency over our own lives. And boy, oh boy, you know, seeing that with my little 1-year-old grandson and trying to feed him, standing up in his high chair, trying to get the spoon off me. We need to have developed the volition to make our own choices. We need emotional intimacy. We need to know that we're accepted. We need to feel part of a wider community. We need to belong to a wider community, and we also need the opposite. We need privacy, you know, to have downtime to reflect and consolidate what we experience. And sometimes life is really busy, and we put them in front of screens instead of creating that opportunity. We need a sense of status within our social grouping, and a sense of competence and achievement. And we need meaning and purpose. You know, we need to be stretched in what we do and think. So, you know, in the example I used above, your child is actually meeting quite a lot of those human, essential human needs, which is not a bad result for a bit of bad behaviour, is it? And so what I want you to see is if you can reframe their behaviour, like, it's not that one child who is always annoying and winds everybody up and creates the conflict. If you can reframe and see it at, you know, that it is just a small person trying to meet their big needs, you can perhaps also stop blaming yourself and feeling that you've gone horribly wrong, and all that self-blame and guilt that we parents have a horrible habit of falling into. And so it's about accepting the reality that this is how they're trying to meet their needs, and it's about not judging them for their needs, even if it seems completely incredible to you that one small person really needs all that much attention or safety or control or autonomy. You know, if it was a physical need, like the need for hunger or for sleep, you'd let them eat, you'd let them sleep until they'd had enough of either. Sometimes they have an enormous appetite, and sometimes they don't eat anything for a whole week, it seems, hardly anything at all. So physical needs like appetite or sleep vary, but so do emotional needs, and sometimes by the minute. So the thing that doesn't change is that neurological wiring in the brain that is designed to meet those needs. And the magic of you accepting what is that it will transform the way you're your child will try and meet their need. You know, before, when the behaviour is seen as bad and it meets with your resistance because you think it's unacceptable and you think it's wrong, it's kind of what we persist, wrong way around, what we resist will persist. What we accept will dissolve. So if you can, this is not about words, this is just inside of you in your energy system. If you can accept that, okay, well, they're trying to meet a need. Let me be curious, let me work out what it is, and let me see if I can meet that need. That in itself is often enough to transform the behaviour, because you are just reacting with kindness and compassion instead of kind of telling them off or judging them. You know, it will allow you to say, whoa, that made you really angry, I see that. Or, you know, instead of like, don't you talk to me like that. You know, I can see you're really upset and feeling bad. How can I help you? Instead of, oh, come on. There was no need for that. That wasn't so bad. So just to sum up, when one child is being extreme, you kind of have a choice to observe their behaviour, validate their need, and then offering different ways of meeting those needs. So I hope that makes sense. Was there anything else I wanted to say about it? Yeah, don't give yourself the space to just, if this is kind of completely new to you, just let it land. Just sit with the question, you know, like what need could they possibly be trying to meet? And I'm sure if you Google human givens, they'll give you a list of what those needs were in greater details than I just have. So what else do I have to say? If you're watching this after the event, do put in that hashtag replay, and I'll know you've been on there and you can ask questions. And so perhaps next time we'll dive a little bit more into the golden child. Yeah, that might be interesting. But keep questions coming. DM me or send me an email. Let me know if there's anything that you would like me to address in these comments. And so just to remind you again, just to plug my course, just because it is really cheap, it's never going to be that cheap again. So you can jump on it now. Parent Like a Leader, Raise the Future, and get lots more practical support with your parenting. Yeah, it's just really well designed to help you look after yourself. Find out, you've probably listened enough. You know that when your teenager is pushing your buttons, that kind of is X marks the spot on the map of your life. There's treasure buried there that will look like some kind of trauma, anger, irritation, fury. So if you're finding yourself really reacting and not able to look for what is your child's needs underneath, then perhaps it's as well to go a little bit deeper with that question and perhaps get some help. So check that out on my website and enjoy the sunshine. And I will see you in 2 weeks, and keep the questions coming. And hopefully I will get the laptop to work for next time. I really should have checked it earlier, shouldn't I? But a bit lastminute.com today. So, yeah, that's me signing off. Bye.